This
Let's give it.
conference will now be recorded.
Okay, recording in progress. All right, so it is Sunday, April 19th, 2020, the year we all would be really happy to probably have over and start again. So again, I'm Virginia Cowan from the Board of Directors coming to you live from Rockland County, New York, here with my dog. He will be taking minutes for the meeting. I'm going to turn over to Jody Scholes from our Board of Directors to introduce our speakers today. We'll have about two 10-minute presentations or 10 minutes-ish or whatever with some info for you, and then plenty of time for sharing and having Q&A. So off to you, Jody.
Yeah, well, thank you very much, Virginia, and welcome to everyone who is here. We are really delighted to be able to offer you these Sunday support sessions, and it really feels like community. So thanks very much for being here. Our first presenter today is Shari Aldrich, and Shari is the president and owner of the Body Mechanics School of Myotherapy and Massage. A graduate herself of the biomechanics school in 2006, Shari became the owner in 2010. Body Mechanics School serves Olympia, Washington, and Vancouver, Washington, graduating between 75 and 125 students a year. In 2018, Shari launched the Body Mechanics Institute to serve and help massage therapists around the country open their own massage schools with kind of a done-for-you system, kind of a massage school in a box, if you will. And today she serves as a mentor to massage school owners around the country. She's coming to us today to talk to us from the owner point of view and then also from the instructor point of view, because she is wearing both hats now and usually does. But these are some very interesting times to be an instructor and an owner. So from there, I will welcome Shari Aldrich.
Thanks, Jody, and thanks, Virginia, for having me. I was really excited to be asked to be a presenter. Something I'm really passionate about is sharing what's working for me and what's not. But I'm also really grateful that everybody's taken the time to watch this, whether you're watching it live or watching it on a recording. Either way, I just think it's amazing that so many massage educators are reaching out for resources really during this time, and that there's really this giving aspect that's happening right now, instead of just everybody in it for themselves, and that we're here as a resource to help each other. My background before massage therapy, I was an IT director in my past life, as it were, and to some degree, I feel like this time that happened and this quick, rapid move that had to happen going to online really felt comfortable to me, like starting this, getting everybody set up on computers and going to online. It felt like I was putting on an old, comfortable pair of shoes and setting down policies and creating access routes for everybody. It just felt really comfortable to me. So that was good. I also have another unique perspective in that I suffered a traumatic finger amputation in 2013. And when that happened, I lost all of my personal ability to earn income. So there's my amputation right there. And so I also come at this from a perspective of losing all of my my finances. And so understanding this this scary time that we're in for so many people financially is, again, something that I really feel it's important for me to share my story and share resources that are working for me, because I've been there at the scariest time possible financially for me and for my business. And so again, I'm just really grateful to be here. I was asked to put together a short presentation about 10 minutes long of what's working in the classroom, and then also from the administrative point of view. So I'm going to share my screen here for a really short presentation. I have 4 total slides, and I think if I put it in a different view, I can't really see the screen. So hopefully that looks good to you guys. Jody, can you give me a thumbs up if that's okay? Excellent. So I just put together, like I said, this really short presentation for some strategies of moving forward. Oh, now I moved my screen. I can't see the arrow to move it forward. So hang on here. There we go. Okay. So first of all, I just kind of want to share some of the stuff that I did in the background, like preparing my staff, preparing my students for moving to this online format. And most of us have already done that transition. And so this might be stuff that you've already been through, but other states are just now moving into stay-at-home orders, and so we might not all be there. So first thing I did, we were closed down March 13th. We got the order to close our schools March 13th. I rapidly moved to a week spring break, which wasn't set until the first week in April, but I moved that to that first week, or that week in March, started I think the 16th. I went out and bought new computers for my staff, provided training. We set up Zoom trainings right away. We did all school staff meetings, and I reinstituted this Facebook instructors group that I really haven't set down any kind of policies that staff had to use this, but I created this format in this instructors group to improve communication. I do have 2 campuses in Olympia and Vancouver, Washington, and they're 90 miles apart. And so this need to get all of my instructors on board with what we were doing was really important. And so I've also asked the instructors to crowdsource, if they have any questions, to reach out to the other instructors in this Facebook privacy group so that everybody could get their questions answered very quickly from other instructors. The other thing that I did as the owner of the school is whatever my instructors asked for, they got it immediately and without question. For example, in my school, we use the Ackland videos for cadaver in kinesiology, and instructors asked for online resources. So without question, within 10 minutes, I purchased an online membership so my instructors could still use that same format that they were comfortable with. The other thing is that I made 0 changes to my curriculum other than going online. We revamped the schedule to get more lecture-based classes up front, but we didn't change anything. I didn't go out and look at any different types of programs, and primarily because I did not want to add more complexity for my instructors as they were moving to an online format. Exams, as far as that goes, we changed to an essay format, and that actually came from this first class online thing, you know, and talking with Virginia in the very first webinar you guys did, and they talked about essay format. So we did change our exams that we've had to an essay style. How did I prep my students? We did the same thing. We did training on Zoom. So after my instructors were trained, I switched quickly to training my students to online. And we really have done a good job, I think, between all of my instructors in doing email communication and then also Facebook communication with all of our students. I'm only releasing the schedule 1 week at a time for the changes that we did make. I didn't give them a complete update for the whole time that we're on shutdown, only 1 week at a time so that they don't keep getting updated schedules and confusion and whatnot. So I confirm with my instructors any changes that have been made and then release only that 1 week schedule to my students. Something else that we did for our students is right away we gave them gift bags for kinesiology. We did have to have them per the state of Washington, they had to sign a contract addendum, and that happened during that week that we were shut down. So we kept all of our distance. We were all gloved up. They had to come in and sign an addendum. And once they did that, they received a gift bag for kinesiology, where we gave them grease pens for home. We gave them colored pencils for doing practicing, and we gave them Play-Doh so that they could practice making you know, like the muscles and whatnot at home. So under the same direction for the instructors, they could do the same activities at home that they were, again, comfortable using in the classroom. Let's see, one of the classes that I did, we have an ethics in the profession class that usually is closer to graduation, but we did that because of this online format. It allowed me to be a little bit more creative, where I had massage therapists in Kentucky and Arizona and also here in Washington that came on and shared ethical issues that they've seen in their states to give my students a more full idea of ethics. Then usually I bring in some therapists locally and we get a local view, but now we were able to think a little bit more globally and bring in more therapists to get a fuller picture of ethics. And this picture here on this slide is that class. This also, we also had one of the students from another owner's school who joined in on the conversation as well. And so now we were touching 2 different schools in this one class. So that was kind of fun. In our employment and resumes class, because usually I bring in local employers, but again, the same thing. I reached out to these different employers and asked them to come into via Zoom, and they did a tour of their facility so our students can see what it looked like, and then they shared what strategies they had for employees pre-coronavirus and starting to look at what it's going to look like for them after, even though we're still just kind of in this planning stage. In our deep tissue class, which I've not done any hands-on training whatsoever, with the exception of one of my most advanced classes. And one thing that I did is I had 2 cameras set up in the classroom where they could see different angles of what was going on. I would do technique, and then I would pause and then go and look at the students where I had preset it, where I asked them if they had somebody in their home to work on as I was doing the demonstration. Then I would pause it and go and watch them, and I was able to make corrections based on what I saw with what they were doing. And so again, that was only with my more advanced class. Kinesiology, I talked about that already, where we gave them the gift bag, but also self-care education, we brought that into it as well, in that I also have a personal training school where I have a partnership with the National Academy of Sports Medicine, and one of my instructors, who also happens to be my daughter, came on and talked to the students. Our topic of discussion was low back and hip pain. And so she came in and talked to them about self-care and things that they could do to take care of their own body, because most of my students have now started working out at home. And so it was really an encompassing class where they were able to get perspectives of taking care of their own body that then just, again, increases their knowledge of taking care of themselves, but that they can share those with clients once they're licensed. So those are some of the strategies that we've done in the classroom. And one last thing that I want to say on this slide before I move on, hang on, is that when this whole thing happened, and I sat in on a call with our Department of Health, and one of the statements that was made by one of the members of our Department of Health is that they trusted us to do the right thing before the pandemic, and that they trust us to do the right thing during the pandemic. And so it's given me a lot of comfort in knowing that I'm doing the right thing in the classroom and I'm making the best decisions in a time when everybody is flying by the seat of their pants. So I just kind of wanted to make that statement that we're all in this together and we're all doing the right thing and the best thing that we can for our students. As far as the school operations side goes, I'm probably a little different than many school owners. First of all, with my student tuition, I've not given my students a free ride in that they just get this free pass on paying their tuition. They have a contract that they've signed, and I have not laid off any of my staff. I still pay my instructors, but because of my perspective from losing my finger and the financial stress that I was under in 2013, I had to be a grown-up and call my creditors and reach out to them and make plans. And I expect the same thing of my students as well. If they're having financial challenges, they can call me and talk to me, but I still have a school to run. And I just cannot afford for my students to not make their tuition payments. I've not reached out for any loan programs, and I'm not in a place that I have to. But I've always taken the approach with my students long before we were in this situation, that if they're in financial difficulties, all they have to do is talk to me, and that hasn't changed. But I told my staff that I'm not making any changes to our tuition payments, that we still will automate payments, and if they're able to make a payment, we take the tuition. If they're not, they need to call me. So that's what I would say about tuition. Social media messaging as far as school operations go. One thing that I would say there for anybody that is a school owner is that right now is the most important time for you to control the story on your social media pages. Control the story, talk to your interested students, your clinic clients, whoever it is that follows you, and tell your audience what you want them to know about your school and how you are managing through this crisis. They need to see that it isn't different today than how you're going to treat them through their education. So be upfront with what's going on, be upfront with how you're navigating this time, be upfront with how you're handling your students, so that anybody that's looking at your school, circling around, wondering what's going to happen in the past, that you control that conversation that nobody else does. Upcoming class starts, I haven't made any changes just yet. We're really kind of at an unknown period right now. We're set to end our stay-home orders on May 4th, and I don't know what's going to happen with that. I am proceeding with our upcoming class starts, and I've been doing information sessions or interviews with students on Zoom. I take my computer around, give them a tour of the school, and I've gotten 3 students to sign up very recently because of these Zoom sessions. I email them the application, they send it back to me, and nothing is changing in that regard. We take their application fee over the phone, and my upcoming classes right now, my enrollments are looking really good. Something else that I would say that's really important for you to think about as a school is that the workforce training programs in the GI Bill, that those programs are available for students, especially right now in this time of people losing jobs. I've already had students reach out to me that they have been told by unemployment that they have benefits and that they're looking for education. And I remember a long time ago, I was talking with a representative from the military, and I was saying that our enrollments were down from the military, from like Chapter 33 or whatever. And the person looked at me and said, it's because the economy is doing very well. But when the economy turns, people start looking for new education. And so again, if you're thinking of controlling the conversation, put that message out there that if people have unemployment benefits, that now is the time to start reaching out to their work source or whoever it is in your individual states that provides educational benefits. I think that's all I had to say on the school operations side. And once we get to the Q&A, if there's other questions, I'm happy to answer those questions. But right now, also as a school, I think mobilizing yourself and your team for growth is really an important thing. And as a school owner, realizing that your team around you has ideas. And again, not going inside and thinking you have to have all of the answers, but reaching out to your team and asking them to get involved and come up with strategies for growth is an important time. And strategize on ways to grow your business and what can you move online and what CE classes can you develop or create. Like I said, I also have a personal training school, and that's created an additional revenue stream for me and created continuity of training for my massage student moving into the personal training program or personal training into the massage program. And so 1 marketing dollar, 2 programs out of that. So what else can you add to your school? And again, asking your team around you to help you come up with those ideas is a great way. And then getting back to business, plan now for your return to normal operations. I'm doing a staff meeting tomorrow, and we're going to make plans for what it's going to look like May 5th. I don't know if we're going to be released to go back to school May 5th, but I'm asking my team to help us develop the plan, which part of that is going to be workshops for students outside of our normal curriculum for things that they have maybe forgotten or been out of practice with during this now 5 weeks of stay home. But what, I don't know what that says. People can see your screen. I don't know what that says that for. Now I lost my track. But planning now for the return to normal operations, getting your staff involved. Oh, I know, I was talking about the workshops that I'm going to be planning and involving my staff with. Who can talk about trigger points? Who can talk about myofascial release? And where we'll get that scheduled to the students and allow them to come into different things at no additional cost to the students, but creating workshops for them. And then I would also include in that keeping your students informed every step of the way, keeping your staff informed every step of the way, and then keeping your customers also potential like student clinic clients or potential students informed every step of the way. But now is the time to push the pedal for growth, because there's going to be, I think, tremendous opportunity for us on the other side of this. And it's really hard right now. I know that the messaging is so strong out there and there's so much fear in the world around all this, but actively step away from anyone who compromises your energy right now. And your energy is a precious resource, and not everyone is entitled to it. So if people are negative, or they're saying massage is never going to be valid, you can't do this, you can't do that, turn it off. Don't listen, right? Trust yourself, like the state trusts us. Trust yourself and know that you have the best intentions for your students. And be a leader through this crisis. People are looking at us as a school, and be that leader and lead them through this. And I think that's the last thing I had. There's my contact information. I'm happy to, if anyone has any questions for me outside of this context, for them to reach out to me and ask questions. Anyways, that's what I had. Thank you very much.
That was awesome, Shari, and a ton of information. And we'll get to some general Q&A in just a few minutes after Taffie provide some good insight as well. But there are a couple key things I just want to point out to everybody. And one is that the thing Shari said about negative voices, there is just, I'm an active follower of social media. I cannot believe the anxiety and the bad information out there. It's everything from people saying we'll never be able to practice again, to being disrespectful of chiropractors, and so on and so forth. And so the fact that the state trusts us to do the right thing is really important. And the other thing is, don't let anybody tell you what you're doing isn't online teaching, because guess what? You're doing it, and you're out there serving your students, and you're here on a Sunday, which is really the only day that you shouldn't be working, and that's why we're here on a Sunday. But remember that you're doing good things. And so even if that's a little, you write that down and put it on a sticky note and put it on your mirror. If no one else is going to applaud you for trying, I will, and I'm sure everybody else here will as well. So those are two really key things. So I'm going to turn this over to Jody now to introduce our next.
Terrific. Yes. Well, our next presenter may be very familiar to many of you. She is the school and teacher liaison for the ABMP. And this is Taffie Lewis, who's going to be joining us. She's been with them for many years, working in different programs. You may know her from Instructors in the Front Lines, and there's so much more that she does. Before being recruited to join the ABMP, Taffie ran school campuses, did admissions, and was really on the business admin side of things for schools. And she has really become she's very excited about sharing with you all the resources that, or many of the resources, she can't share them all today, but there's been many new resources introduced for free for instructors, for program directors, and for owners. And we're very grateful for her participation today from ABMP. So welcome, Taffie.
Thank you. Thanks, Jody, Virginia. Oh, it's so good to see all of you. I just have to say, first off, I'm so thankful that you're all getting together and talking about ideas. And when I first heard that this was happening, I thought, oh my God, how do we get to be a part of this thing? Because we've got a bunch of things that we just launched for distance learning and for free for schools. And we can, we do our marketing, but it doesn't get to everybody. So this is wonderful to be a part of today. And I'll try to talk about it in terms of strategies, but it might be that you think you might have to think about where do these things fit into your existing strategy that you've already started, because we don't have a whole curriculum for you for distance learning, but we have some great pieces that you can fit in here and there for specific classes and topics that you're involved in and where your students are at. So I'm going to jump right in because it's a lot to share in a short amount of time. I apologize in advance for being a bit of a fire hose. I'll try to give you a quick tour, very high level, of our new distance learning pieces. And then, of course, any questions, I'll provide my contact info, and certainly afterwards we'll chat. And Shari, thank you so much for sharing that. I've been wondering, what are schools doing about admissions right now? So it was brilliant. Like, that was such a simple thing to do. Take your take your computer and do a tour. I love it. So fantastic. All right, so I'm going to do the share my screen thing here, and I might need a little feedback to make sure that you guys can see the website. So hold on one second. And it's always a little tricky to get. I can see all of you, but I cannot see my screen. Okay, so you can see the website. I see a thumbs up. Fantastic. Okay, and I'm going to just quickly go through a few things. Basically, what we did was we created a new distance learning section on the website. And one of the biggest things that I wanted to announce today is that we are making our distance learning resources free for any school. So you don't need to be a school member with us right now. This is in light of the COVID-19 issues. And if you would like access to these things, we're giving free access for up to 3 months. So we'll talk about how do you get in touch with us to do that. And one of the things that I wanted to share with you, and I'm gonna actually turn off my webcam because it always distracts me when I have that on. Let me go back to the website and holler, though I can hear you. So holler if something goes awry. All right. So one of the things I wanted to talk about was that in this distance learning page, we have put together a resource page that you'll be able to go to, and it's right here to learn about different platforms. And what we decided to do was really focus on Zoom. And so some of you, you may be well beyond this part and you already have your distance learning platform, but there are some great resources in here for any guides on how to use it, how do you have students use it easily, instructors. And then we also put the 2 webinars in here that the Alliance has done originally, and then also Ruth Werner and Whitney Lowe's webinar as well. So this is a good little resource page. But what I want to focus on right now is student life. So in student life, we basically took this great program that we have, Student Life, that has a ton of resources in it, and we tried to figure out how we could make it distance learning friendly, but it's already, a lot of it is very friendly already to distance learning. And if you don't know what Student Life is, this is a free resource for students and schools, and it's all based on helping students with study tips and also life tips and balancing school and life. And there's a lot of great things that here are automatically easy to use online. So we've got topics on everything from time management, study skills, mastering healthcare terminology, ethics, how to learn your muscles. So there's 36 different topics in student life alone. And you'll find that every topic also has a video. So a lot of schools will use these videos as online assignments and tell students to go watch these quick massage videos, give some feedback on them. There's also downloadable forms, and these forms are what become great assignments as well for online learning. So Student Life already has all of this as far as it's already built in and it's free. And for those of you that might have students that are maybe near to graduating and all of a sudden, boom, they have to be online and finish their program online, and you might need some resources for career planning or your business classes, there is a whole section for plan your career. And in this section, there are 7 different topics on helping your students explore, be able to explore their different directions they might want to go in. So the thing I like about this piece is there are assessment tools. So they can download a form, it's an assessment tool, they fill it out, and then they turn that in as an assignment. There's also longer webinars here that you could do as assignments for a particular business class and things like that, that the students can watch. And again, this is all like the asynchronous learning that I know a lot of you have talked about, where you need a student to be able to do their own study on their own time and then come back and turn it in. So a lot of these fit really nicely with that. Another feature that's in Student Life that's easy peasy and awesome is the website builder. So don't forget, your students have a free website builder. You could have them do assignments online and building a couple pages for their website. And it's going to keep them so engaged in something different and fun to do. So I want to make sure just to remind you of those tools. And again, that's very high level. There's so much more in here, but I just wanted to give you kind of high level reminder of those things and that they're free. So with the distance learning resources, I'm going to come back over here. If you right now are not a school member with us and you're like, ooh, some of those things look like things I could plug in, just email us at education@abmp.com. I'll get that email and I'll get you in touch with your school liaison to help you see what's a good fit, what do we have, and give you a little tour online. Another cool thing that we just opened up, which is more webinars. So we had a bunch of schools contact us right away and they were like, so, hey, could you just open up your online education center to all of our students? And we said, well, we can't quite do that, but what can we do? So we have picked about 10 different webinars that we've brought over from our online ed center. And normally these have continuing ed attached. They don't for students, but you can go ahead and just send the link to the student, have them watch the webinar, and perhaps put an assignment together around that. Maybe they just provide their top 10 things they learned from it, or whatever you want to do for an assignment. There are things like ethics, client retention, insurance billing. We've even got, sexual harassment stuff in here, and even charting with Diana Thompson. So there's some cool stuff in there that you guys can go access. And these are all in here temporarily. These are just around the COVID situation. We can't keep it in there long term because of NCB TMB requirements, but you can access these right now for your students. Again, that would all be free for them and for you. So when I come back to this page, basically these first two boxes are free resources for anybody. Whoever would like to take access, let's get in touch and we'll help you with that. But then I wanted to talk a little bit about the exam coach resources. For some of you may or may not be aware, I know several of the schools that we have on this call have exam coach for their students, and we decided, how could we take exam coach and provide some online activities that you could do with your students as well. So we got creative and we created those and put them together. And just in case for some of you who don't know what exam coach is, it's basically an online study prep tool that's meant to be used throughout the massage program, help your students learn all their terminology, and also for NBLEX prep. And it has over 5,000 questions in the data bank, 2,500 flashcards, 2,500 terms defined with audio pronunciation, unlimited quizzing, and unlimited practice exams. So it is a natural tool for online distance learning, and it's really fun. We've had a lot of schools contact us and say, oh my God, how do I get this thing? This is perfect. The other part about it is it has tracking. So you as a school are able to track your students' activity in Exam Coach, and that is really helpful for distance learning because you need to be able to show how many quizzes have they done, what are their scores, what's their data usage. When you go into Exam Coach, what I wanted to show you was how the activities work. So we put together specific activities for Exam Coach. If I scroll down here, as I mentioned, Exam Coach has terminology, and so we put together 3 activities just for terminology, that using that feature in Exam Coach. I'm sorry, I don't have enough time to actually show you Exam Coach right now, but again, we can give you a tour anytime. Flashcard activities, and then there's quizzing activities. So as an example, every activity has a student activity worksheet attached that you would basically just send to your student when you download it. You can download the PDF or email it to your student, and you'd fill in what subject they're going to study and what topic, and then they just follow these directions. So if your students have Exam Coach, let's say Jody and I were partners, we can pair up together online. You'd give us this worksheet, and let's say our topic was posture assessment, and that's what we're learning in school right now. Jody and I would get together online on Zoom, and we would open up our Exam Coach account, and we would go through quizzing. So she might be the facilitator, one of us is a facilitator, one of us is a test taker, and we would go through it. I would go through the quiz, and when I miss a question on the quiz, as a facilitator, she's going to ask me these 3 questions. I'll try to highlight them. Sorry, it's a little probably hard to see, but she would ask me these questions to help me deconstruct the question that I missed. So why did you choose the option you did? What thinking caused you to rule out other options, et cetera, et cetera. So we'd work through this together for a certain period of time. That's the asynchronous part of the activity. But then the cool part is when we get back together as a class, the instructor has their own lesson plan here for that activity, and we would get back together on Zoom all together, and the instructor would work us through or have us talk through our discovery about the activity. What did we learn about ourselves with test taking? Where do we stop ourselves? Where do we second guess ourselves? So it's really fun because a lot of these Exam Coach activities are actually, they allow for both the asynchronous and synchronous activities. There's even like the hot seat where students actually act out a term on video with each other, and they have to guess what they're trying to say that their term is or their muscle is, and that sort of thing. So really fun stuff. The other thing I wanted to come back to about the Exam coach piece is if your students have exam coach right now, we opened up to all of our exam coach schools that they can add on 5-minute muscles for free for 2 months if they don't already have it. So 5-minute muscles is a new resource that we launched late last year, and it happens to be an amazing distance learning tool. I'm just going to jump out here really quick so you know it's available as a strategy for you too. 5-minute muscles can be used on a phone, computer, and it's meant for students to learn. It actually was meant to be a professional tool first. So it was to be a quick reference tool. As a professional, I could go to a body region, quickly look up a muscle, review the muscle action, origin, insertion, and I'm good to go. But we realized really quickly that students were going to want this, schools are going to want it, and especially for distance learning. So as an example, if I click on a region that we're learning in school, shoulder and arm, it brings up all the different muscles and the images. I can scroll through all the different muscles and images. And also up here, I can search the 83 muscles that are in this program. And we focus on muscles that are mainly the muscles that you work out on in massage. So let's say I pull up brachialis. And when I look at this program, I'm like, oh my gosh, this is great because students can't palpate muscles together in class, but they could use this program at home and work on their loved ones. So it's got an overview of the muscle. I've got the origin insertion. I've got the actions of the muscle. And even better, I've got a palpation video here with Clint Chandler, who's an amazing massage therapist and instructor. And I'm going to just scroll through really quick so you get the gist. He'll show you how to palpate the muscle with the attachment sites, point that all out. Then he will fire the muscle so you can see the action of the muscle and overlay the muscle on it. And then he goes into palpation techniques for that muscle. So each of these videos are 2 minutes or less, and then there's even a massage technique video on top of that. So if you can imagine your students, using this tool to practice at home, it's such a great learning tool for distance learning as well. And then under more information, you can even have them go to our digital magazine, study some articles that are about that muscle, like with Andrew Beal, for instance, and they could do a project paper on it. So just want to make sure you knew that was there. I'm going to go back to ABMP really quick because I know I'm probably fire hosing you guys and taking a little bit more time here than I should. But when we come back to the educator side of this and back to the distance learning, I also wanted to point out something I forgot to show you. Under the student life side of things, we took out of the 36 topics, we took 10 of them, made them into assignments and activities for you. So you've got a student activity worksheet right here on mastering healthcare terminology. And so when I click on that, you can just send me this PDF as a student. I fill out my name, all that stuff digitally. All I have to do is follow the tasks, read the article, define the term prefix here, use my textbook and go find common prefixes, etc. And then if I click on the terminology link, it takes me right to the student life page that I need. And here's the article I read, and here's the vocabulary form that I can pull up and type in and save and send to you, my instructor, in completing that project. So it's really easy to incorporate in what you're already doing, hopefully. And as I said, there's like 10 different activities in these topics here. So that has all been built for you again for free. If you are interested in the exam coach piece and the 5-minute muscles piece, I just invite you to reach out to me at education@abmp.com because we, at this time, we're really trying to help schools. So we can work out maybe a free trial of that for a couple of months so you can utilize these online resources, help your students get through this, and then maybe it's something you want to keep doing after that, or maybe it isn't, but either way is fine. So that is, big picture. I think I've covered everything, and I'll turn back on my, I'll unshare my screen here, turn back on my video. And I just want to say, I know that was a lot and really fast. So any questions at all, I'm here for you. I'll stay on the call for the chat box and all that. And gosh, I hope it helps. It's a little bit, it's little pieces you can put in there here and there, but I think it'll help keep things fun too. So, and we're happy to get your feedback and create whatever else you need. So that's our role here, is trying to make sure that we're fitting the needs. So thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you so much, Taffy. And so, we do realize that these sessions, number one, are long, an hour to go back and listen to all of our replays. But it's so nice to hear the different perspectives and to hear Sandy and Rob have shared in previous meetings as well. One thing I want to start with a question for the group, and we'll unmute you. I guess right now you're all muted. But one of my questions, this has come up in a previous meeting, and that was that there were people that were encountering barriers to having asynchronous activities for their students. And so there were folks who were originally trying to have all of their classes live on Zoom all the time, all day, regular time, that kind of thing. And so I'm just wondering if anybody is still encountering barriers to asynchronous learning, and if so, what you've done to overcome those. So I'm going to go ahead and hit unmute. If you're not talking, mute yourself. Let's see. That should work. So you should be able to unmute yourself if anybody has any issues with distance learning. Anyone?
No issues, just a reminder that there needs to be a level of expectation and accountability with the students. So I always operate as if you did it, even if you did it. And I think that when you do that and you realize that the homework is something that an adult learner is supposed to be able to do, and with the asynchronous, and just function that way and don't baby them, it helps a lot.
Okay, terrific. So I guess I would go to the general group here. Does anybody have any questions based upon any of the things that either Taffy or Shari talked about, or anything you want clarifications of? Okay, so hearing crickets. Here's the big question that's come up previously: hands-on. So we've had that question. I have seen that in EdNet at least, and several other places. You are not unlike medical schools right now that are starting out their students in, they actually have no clerkships going on, or the only clerkships that are going on are in radiology and psychiatry. And so the strategies people have said here about front loading all your didactic content and saving hands-on for later, is anyone reaching a point where that's not going to work based upon their student, attempted, graduation rates, things like that? Does anybody want to share any challenges that they're facing with hands-on learning?
One of the challenges that I have is I have probably 4 students who are living alone. And last week I taught chair massage, and that actually went really, really well. I demonstrated just using my computer camera on my husband, and also assigned a couple of video content for more content, and that went really, really well. But we were going to practice the next day and show them how to use a kitchen chair with a couple of cushions and blankets and so forth. But 4 of the students didn't have anybody else they were living with, so I didn't feel like we could follow through with that because they had no one to practice on. That's going to happen with some table massage technique I'd like to teach as well, and I would love suggestions.
I have taken pillows and cushions and rolled towels and built a human. There is the school health management center actually has a YouTube video of me doing that. And you'd be surprised at how much context, sometimes even better, in terms of how the tissue is responding to what you're doing. So that is my suggestion, and it works better than you might think.
I would echo that, Sandy, that we've built some things with pillows and rolled up towels, and the difference between a throw pillow on your sofa and a bed pillow that you rolled up or fluffed, doubled. It helps them with their body mechanics a little bit, you know, in terms of how they're moving around the table and how they're approaching, quote, tissue. In that we have videotaped all of the strokes and techniques and sequences and things. And so we have a private, on ShareFile we have a private YouTube channel that has been useful to our students who are our new students, you know, that have just started term 1, and they're doing pretty well, progressing along with learning some of the basic strokes and their body mechanics and managing sheets and turning bodies over and things like that. But we've made the decision for our first term and our third term people that we're not going to progress too much further. You know, that I'm teaching them, showing them in my living room, using my cat. No, I'm using pillows, using pillows and towels and things that to how to approach the tissue and do that. But we've made the decision. They watch the videos, then they come back the next class and tell us, I still don't get this part and I don't get that part. We're not going to go beyond just learning the effleurage, petrassages, frictions with the first terms until we can get them back in class. I don't want them to develop such bad habits or poor body mechanics or never have touched tissue and come into the class because they live alone and come into the class at a big disadvantage. So we're front loading all the business and things after that. With our third term students that are well beyond their Swedish techniques, are in their myofascial and neuromuscular, those that are living alone are taking advantage of people's online videos that are not ours. You know, they're looking at Whitney's, they're looking at some of Judith's trigger point stuff, and that we've got lots of things that references that they can look at, and we're just praying that we get back in class. And Shari, I hope we get back in May 5th, but we're scheduling and planning as if we're not going to get back until June.
I'm planning the way that the plan is we'll plan for May 5th, but whatever that plan is, it's easily moved to if it's a different date. I think though that, Pat, that we need to look at maybe doing a petition to the governor, and just like, I have a big enough space, I could keep my students apart. I think it's really getting hard to keep them motivated online, doing it now into our 5th week. So, and it's exhausting also as the instructor. I don't know if some of the rest of you are finding that it's exhausting.
It is completely exhausting.
Yeah, and so I'm just hopeful that we can get in May 5th, and then whatever that plan is, we can back it up a week or two if that's what has to be. But also then to the question that was asked, that's why we're looking at doing workshops when we're back. And so revisiting those things outside of the class time, that we can go back and revisit trigger points of myofascial and whatnot at no cost to the students, but that we'll do workshops so that whatever they've missed in the last 5 weeks, not missed in content, but missed by not having a body to work on, we can bring them in and teach them those, reteach them and refamiliarize again with those. So that's our plan. But I think I have 2 or 3 students that don't have anyone in their home.
This is Sandy again. I just want to acknowledge that we've got a really, really special person on the call that I don't know that any of you may have had a chance to listen speak. Dean Juan, you hear me, Dean?
Hello.
I just think that since you're here, it might be really special for you to, tell people what your perspective is and remind them of the book that you wrote.
And if you could repeat the name, we have several people who are joining us just on the telephone, so they can't see you. So if you could just repeat to let us know who you are as you speak, and that's actually for everyone, please.
Yeah, my name is Dean Juhan. I'm the author of Job's Body. I've been doing professional body work for 45 years now, largely affiliated with Dr. Milton Traeger, who I trained with personally for 24 years.
Mm.
And I'm scrambling to go up the steep curve of learning all this online stuff. I'm not very techy, but I'm getting it down. Um, I'm doing a webinar this Thursday, which will be my first offering. It's going to be free. If anyone wants to send me their email contact, I can send you a link to that. That will be Thursday, 10 to 1 Eastern Standard Time. I mean, Pacific Standard Time. Um, so that's what I'm doing. And just trying to develop a very different kind of outreach. Not only has this collapse of business for all of us kind of forced me into this, I'm discovering it's really very exciting and a medium that I'm finding rather explosive in my mind. What can really be done? Um, I'm in the process of transferring all my ABMP classes over to online credits and figuring out the technology of holding what used to be a 3-day hands-on class into a 3-day. I include advanced anatomy, functional anatomy slides, demonstrations. Uh, Also interested to see what the possibilities are for me monitoring people as they're practicing in their own personal location. But yeah, I'm really quite cheered by all this. I think it's going to be a big boost in all of our skills and teachings availability and voices of a very different kind getting out into the ether. And so that's where I'm going with it. I think there is some real light that is going to come out of this crisis in terms of not only our profession, but what's showing up is the glaring dysfunction of many of our social, cultural, political, educational, medical systems that have not been sustainable for a long time, and now they're hitting the wall. So here we go.
Thank you so much, Dean, and thank you, Sandy, for pointing him out. And
Yes, thank
you know,
you.
it is interesting to look at the idea of people who are technologically, you know, I'm getting into massage. Several people have said this before because I'm not interested in technology, and we're really pushing the envelope. But I want to come up. There was a question that someone had asked in the chat, and they must have typed it very quickly, but basically they said, what are people doing in states that don't count distance learning for body work, like California? Are schools ignoring these rules? And the answer is no. And so previously we've had some folks on these sessions and talk about, we had Dawn Hogue at the first session, and I think she's going to be back. She's one of our board members. But depending on your accreditation agency, and then even for CE, revising your classes, all of this does need to be run up the accreditation flagpole. And so if there's anybody here from a community college program, you also have the added hurdle of the curriculum committee when you're changing your course materials. So no one's really ignoring anything. I think if there's anything I will say is that people have been incredibly diligent about taking the extra administrative time to make sure that they're meeting all the requirements so that nobody is inconvenienced on the back end. So, and I've been hearing some crackling and people having sound kinds of issues, but I want to point out we've got a little less than 5 minutes left. So other thoughts or questions?
This is Taffie at ABMP, and I just wanted to offer up out there or throw this out to all of you and any other school owners that you know of. If there's anything that you're wondering about, like how do we get our school back up and running? How do we do clinic? How do we do our classes under these circumstances? Throw them our way, like the things that are on your mind, because we don't know unless you tell us. And we have a whole group of people at ABMP trying to figure that stuff out, talking to experts and figuring out new protocols. So that is something that we're actively working on. So I just wanted to share that, to please let us know what's on your minds as you go. We'd appreciate it.
I think we also need to come up with some strategies and ideas for reentry related to sanitation protocols. Do we wear a mask? What do we do with single-use sorts of stuff? How does that change the social dynamics, the therapeutic alliance? We've never really done those kinds of things within the massage setting. I think we're going to need to. So just put that in your little head, and maybe we can come up with some strategies on how we are in compliance with that. Certainly CDC will be important in how that goes, but also will be state regulations as well.
That brings up a question for me. I was piqued by the comment that for actually granting continuing education credit is state by states who don't allow that to happen. I live in California, and I didn't know that California didn't grant CEU credits through NCBTMB for online classes. Is that true?
That, oops, sorry, that wasn't the question. The question was most likely irrelevant to people who are in regular massage education and where distance learning is not allowed. And now the entire school, so it's not CE, but the entire school is moved to a distance learning format. So that's quite different than continuing ed credits that are NCB or state regulated. So does that kind of make
Oh,
sense now in terms of what their question was?
oh, thank you for the
Right.
clarification.
So the notion,
That's cheering.
sure. And well, and and even the limits, I've seen reports, and this, I'd like to stay in our lane with educators here, but I've seen reports of states allowing massage therapists to do more distance learning to meet CE requirements now than they had been allowed to in the past. And so that that may benefit people who are migrating CE courses online. So very quickly, because we've only got a few minutes left. We missed last week because it was Easter. We have plans to continue, doing this next week, and Jody is working diligently on finding folks to make some mini presentations. Does anybody have any final thoughts that they want to share, or any requests from us as the Alliance?
I have one other thing to add, Virginia. We do have our presenters for next week, and we wanted to let you know about them. Virginia mentioned that Dawn Hogue from CompTA, the executive director of CompTA, will be joining us next week on Sunday, April 26th at 3 p.m. Eastern. She's going to be talking about compliance issues and accreditation during this time. Likewise, we have a second presenter, and that is one you probably are all very familiar with, and that's Deborah Persinger from the Federation of State Massage Therapy Boards. She's going to be speaking to what's happening on their end as far as when do they anticipate the MBLEX coming back in, what's happening state to state. And that's next Sunday for Deborah Persinger from FSMTB and Dawn Hogue from CompTA.
Great, thank you so much, Jody, for that. I guess that will conclude our day today. And I just want to say, if you recognize my name, I'm more of a researcher and an author at this point in my career. But I've taught online in graduate health sciences for a number of years. But I just want to remind you to take a moment to pat yourself on the back, because you're doing good work. You're here to get ideas. As you have ideas of the Alliance, we are still working on trying to find a way to have you all share somewhere online. So look for that information. So as you're coming up with strategies, we definitely will be, we're a small organization, but we'll be providing that as we move forward. So I want to thank both of our presenters today, Taffie and Shari for sharing stuff, Shari for sharing. And then also the folks who've been here, Rob and Arlene, who are committee members, and Jody for helping organize all this. So please stay positive, please stay out there teaching, and please join us next week with your ideas. And thanks so much.
Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.